So we now have 8 loops to work through. The next part of the pattern sounds really complicated, but it's actually quite simple. What you're going to do is on the corner sections, you're going to do the really complicated bits. Oh, they sound complicated, they're not. And in the middle bits you're just going to do 3 double crochet all in the same space. So bearing in mind we're going to be working on a corner piece, which should in theory be your first loop. If it's not quite on the corner near the ear, then you have to move it around a little. And I'm going to work over my yarn tail again. So it's asking you to chain 3 initially, so 1, 2, 3. That's going to make up the height of your double crochet, and you do 2 double crochet in that first chain space, as it's called. So pull through 2, pull through 2, and then cross over again in the chain space, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that 3 chain that you did at the start actually acts as one of the double crochets that you want. So you'll see that will end up being the height that you need. You then need to chain 1, and you'll see why when we get onto the next row. Half double crochet back in that chain space, pull through 2, pull through 2, and you're doing 2 more. It doesn't read very easily, this. I can see why people are getting a bit confused with it, but it's actually really easy to do. So that's going to be one of your corner pieces, because you've got 3 double crochet on one side, and in a sense 3 double crochet on another, and a chain space, because that's going to be another chain space for when you're working your next row. So because we've only got 8 spaces to work in, the next row all you need to do is a 3DC, but you need to obviously chain 1 after you've finished the first lot. So chain 1, and again I'm going to work over my yarn tail, make it easy for myself. So just 3DC in that hole. 1, 2, 3. You can see the granny square starting to take shape now. So chain 1 again, and I'm going to snip off my yarn tail now because it's in my way and it's annoying me. So pull it tighter. Again, snip off close to your work, and pull it back through. There we go. So the next one is a corner piece, so we're going to do 3DC. That's 1, 2, 3. A chain 1 and another 3. You will have to pull it down across onto there, so you've got a bit more room. So 1, 2, 3. You can start to see now that you've got some corners emerging slowly. So the next one, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to just 3DC in the hole. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Chain 1 after that, and then you've got another corner. So a 3, a chain 1 and a 3. I hope this is making sense to everybody. It's actually really simple when you get going. So a chain 1 and then another 3 on the same space. 1, 2, 3. And then we've got another straight part as such. See, look, you're getting a square behind it. So just make sure I've done my chain. I haven't. So a chain 1, and then oops, 3DC in the next one. Chain 1, and then another corner section. So a 3. Chain 1 and another 3 all on that same bar there. Oops. And then I should just have one more, yep. So we've got another straight section to go, so another chain 1, and it's 3 double crochet in that one. 2 and 3. Okay, what does it say? Slip stitch to join to the top of chain 3, which was that original chain that we did. So wherever you can get in there, I'll get in there and give you a slip stitch. So if we flatten it a little and give it a bit of a tug, you will start to see a square shape emerging. As with most crochet, you have to give it a bit of a tug just to get it to do what you want it to do. Then we can just start to see a pattern forming of the square, I hope, for you. So this says fasten off and weave in ends, as per usual. I don't really follow what they tell me to do. So I'm going to get my next colour, which is going to be yellow, I think, just for fun. It's all attached to all the rest of the crap that I've got in here. And again, I'm going to do my usual trick of how I fasten a colour on. So you're going to add your second colour, pull it through, pull both tail ends really tight, and it asks you to start in the corner space. So where you did a 3DC, a chain 1 and a 3DC, the corner space is that bit there. So that's actually dead simple to start into. And hopefully, if it'll play, we can get away with not having to change colour so difficultly. So, chain 2 it asks for on this time. Just going to pull those tails really tight. In fact, I'm going to tie them together, those two colours, so that they can't go anywhere. You don't have to, it's just my way of doing it, I find it easier. And I'm going to snip off my purple now as well, about the same length as my other yellow tail. So if you want to work over your yarn tails, if it's showing too much, then don't bother, but it just depends how it looks. We might end up weaving them in at the end anyway. So we've done our chain 2, where are we? Chain 2. Nope, sorry, chain 3, I've read that wrong. So you've got chain 3 for the height of your stitch. And then we're doing 3DC into the chain space. So now I've come across a problem. This actually looks rubbish because of where we've started that. I'm not very happy with that. I think that looks really, really poor. So I'm actually going to take the yellow out for a sec, especially now I've tied it all together. Just going to find where I last got to my purple. Sorry about this, guys. So, I think it's going to look better if we work to the end and then we'll change colour. So what have we got there? We've got a 1 and 2 and a 3. I just need to pop in there. This is the beauty of doing a pattern you've not tested. You find little glitches, and that was one of them. So we're just going to slip stitch again, just to join that up. Come on. Another reason why I don't always cut off my tails, I was a bit premature there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slip stitch across to get my purple where I want it to be. So we're just going to slip that one, and I'm going to slip one more in that chain space, and we're going to change colour on the corner here. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully. So, change my colour now. I think personally that's going to look a damn sight nicer. So, pull that really tight. Hold your tail ends together. really tight like that. Now I'm going to tie them off. Like I said before, don't tie them too tight, because it will, if you do come across a glitch just like that, just saves you a little bit of hassle. And always cut your tail end a little bit long just in case you're not sure. So now we can do our chain 3, 2 and 3, and you're going to put 2 DC in there. So that's 2. So you've got your chains and your 2, so that makes a 3. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So that makes one of your clumps. And then a slip. And then again, you're doing a corner piece. So you're going to put another 3 in there. 2 and 3. So you can just start to see it building up now. If your owl curls up, he'll go back flat when you've done a bit more. So that's that bit done. And now you're going to be working into your chain space. So I'm just going to very gently snip off my tails, and that's another reason to tie them off, because you are not going to have as much room. So I'm just going to pull those back through there like that. So you're going to miss these 3 DC here, that's going to be one of your little square pieces, and you're going to work into that hole there. So you chain 1, to give yourself some space to work with, and then 3 DC in here. And this is where it starts to work up pretty quick, because once you've got the hang of the pattern, it's an absolute doddle. Again, you've got a long space, so you're going to put another 3 DC in there. 2 and 3. This is where your work starts to get a little bit quicker, because you'll start to see it forming now. So you're at a corner, so you're chaining 1, and you're going to work 3 DC into that chain space on that corner. Some more yarn. 2, 3, and you're going to chain 1 and put another 3 back in that corner bit. So you keep making a corner piece and 2 straight bits, and you'll see it's forming really nicely now. So you're chaining 1, 3 DC, chain 1, another 3 DC because you're not at the corner yet. Chain 1, got your next corner piece to come, so again in that corner chain space, that's 1, 2, 3, chain 1 and then another 3 in the corner space, 1, 2, 3, oops, sorry, kick that one, chain 1, into your next chain space, just 3 DC. This is where it's easy now, it's plain sailing from here on in, it's fairly obvious how to do it all. And this is where you get your practice in, so you'll get good at DCing. So excuse me, I've got a bad back sitting in this funny position. So that's 3, whoops. Chain 1, back at that corner again, and a 3, a 1, and another load of 3s. Another 1. Come back around that corner so you can go on to doing your normal clumps of 3. 2, 3, chain 1, and where have we got to? Need to do another one. What happened here? No, so I can see. Right, so you need to do your last one in that chain space. I think I must have missed a chain 1 there. You can see how it's tighter. Definitely missed a chain 1. It doesn't matter. We can work around it. 1, 2, 3, and then last bit, slip stitch, but again you want to be at the top of this one to make it nice and even. Just chain 1 there just to make sure I've got some room. You're always going to find it's tighter in some places. Pop it in there, put it through. And again, this time with my yellow yarn attached, I'm going to slip stitch all the way to that corner space, so I know that when I change colour it's not going to look hideous. So, if you work some tugs, make sure it's becoming a square now. Much easier. We only need to have one more colour and we're there. So, that's that so far. I think I'm going to go back on blue again to match my owl middle bit. So I'll show you how to colour change and then I'll meet you back in a second. So again, keep your yellow attached, it's probably the safest option. Put your loop through. Pull that tight and hold your 2 tail ends tight. Just same as before, chain 3. And you're going to yarn over, working over those tails again into that hole. Double crochet, double crochet. So remember you only need to do 2 on this first bit because you've made up the height with your chain. So that's 1 and 2. So that counts as your 3 cluster. And then you need to chain 1 and another 3 cluster. Again making sure you're working over your tails. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, that's one of my corners. So I'm just gonna probably snip off, tie off, snip off again. And tie them into there, you'll not see them then. Probably the easiest way. I tend to find ways around things, generally speaking, to make them nice and neat. Pull them into place like that. So that's the back now. You can see it's taking that flowery shape that you're so used to seeing. So just got a little tail end hiding there. We'll snip that off. Tuck it back in there. You can weave those in right at the end if they're really bugging you. So I'll see you back in a minute when I've finished my square.